So, before I get into the main subject, I think it's best for me to take a step back and recap some of the things that I've been covering over the years regarding Intel's graphics odyssey. This is something that I used to do about, every third DG2 video as a way to just remind everyone watching where we came from, where I came from, where my overall opinions and assessments have come from, because I think with how negative or positive some reports can be, people forget what I've been saying the whole time. For example, almost 2 years ago in the summer of 2020, I reported first that Intel would be launching Alchemist on TSMC 6nm. This was when everyone else was still talking about Intel 10nm for Alchemist. It actually didn't even have the Alchemist name yet. And it's funny to look back on this slide. DG3, which is Battle Mage, was apparently supposed to come out at the end of this year, 2022. I've already forgotten that. And it's another good reminder. You see, even back then, I felt compelled to put things like planned, to put these disclaimers on roadmaps that these were what Intel was planning, that I couldn't promise things were going to live up to expectations or to what Intel really wanted to do, because I had already watched DG2's design rapidly change over the course of a couple years from some 4-tile design to a 2-tile design to a 1-tile design. It was always problematic and full of issues, but I reported on it because their ambitions were real. They really wanted something big. And indeed, what started as a almost pseudo RDNA 3 competitor years ago eventually ended up as something much more traditional. 1 month after that, the next 2 years of graphics video, I had another video come out that detailed what has become the final overall specs. It was 1-tile, it was on 6nm, it had 512 execution units, and they were going to attempt to get around a 3070 Ti. And again, I say attempt. And again, remember, this was a leak that happened back before we knew what the die looked like, the die size, before Raja Koduri confirmed a die size and level of execution. that totally backs up the performance goals Intel was trying to hit years ago. This is important for me to bring up because my sources have proven correct on this. Sources that I still use to this day for covering Alchemist time and time again. Raja Koduri wanted to launch a 3070 Ti competitor back then, and they had some higher clocked models in 3D Mark versions getting around there, which recent videos have shown that if you push Alchemist very hard, you can get its clock speeds much higher than what's stock. It's because they were always intending to launch some higher clocked top model that would compete with top GA104 cards, but they're deciding not to release them because, well, Alchemist is full of issues that would basically hamstring any attempt to compete higher than what they're going for anyways, which, yeah, it sucks. But this outcome isn't entirely surprising. If you've paid attention to the negative disclaimers that I always put there next to the positive hopes, shall we say, you would know that this thing was probably not always going to pan out as well as the top projections wanted it to. Let's be clear. It would have been very easy. The person who got massive exclusives like first pictures of Alchemist cards in labs to just hype this thing up to the moon constantly and never say a bad thing. But there's always been two camps. A camp that thinks they can do it, that they can have the second generation, which DG2 is the second generation. DG1 was really the beta test for drivers. That was supposed to fix the drivers. There was always this big hope that DG2 could compete in the high end by the end of 2021. There was always this other camp that thought it may never come out. And what I wanted to say in today's video is the reality is going to be in the middle of these outcomes. And I guess it is because the final decision hasn't been made yet. But if we were to go right in between what the two camps think, one side saying it's going to be a high-end competitor, it's going to be awesome, one side saying it will never come out, I guess it's not a surprise that the middle of that might be that Intel may cancel Arc before Battle Mage is even launched. And that's what this video is predominantly about. But again, this decision has not been made yet, but there's much more to the story than just saying Intel's considering not launching something. You see, I already alluded to the horrible things I was hearing last week. There's been other people in Intel marketing that have just been misrepresenting what's going on with Alchemist and really lying about what the initial lineup was and the readiness of Alchemist. And I want the people who do lie at Intel to know a lot of your employees don't like that, and they've been more open with me over the past week because of it.
меня черный плащ, сука! Хуйло, конец тебе!
I know what your roadmaps have. I know when Alchemist will actually be ready, and I know what high-end SKUs you are actually planning to launch. And this is just bad PR. Learn to lose gracefully. I don't think they have learned that lesson yet, though, and so I'm going to take my time with this next video because I just feel like, at least from some people at Intel, consumers are being lied to. All the way back then, I already had a pretty full picture of some bad stuff, and I could have rushed out some less than 10-minute video that was just like, it may never come out, and then, smoke bomb, leave. But it's actually pretty complicated, and I think you guys deserve to know what's really going on behind the scenes, because it's one thing to just tell people Battle Mage may be canceled. It's another to tell you what you may want to worry about if you buy Alchemist, and really just what's going on between several groups inside Intel. That is the full story, and I believe you deserve to hear it, and that is why I've taken my time to give you a comprehensive story that is going to show new roadmaps from within Intel, proving that they are lying to you. I'm not just going to say something. I have proof they're lying. But first, an ad from a sponsor.
You'll see that the Intel Arc A750 performs great.
Now that ad actually touched on what I'm going to talk about next, and you should support sponsors of independent coverage like this, I believe. But anyways, Intel's going on this media tour right now. A lot of you have probably been screaming, well, wait a second. They're going on a bunch of tech channels, they're hyping up Alchemist, and yeah, they're saying not all games will be perfectly optimized, but Alchemist has light drivers that just need more work. And well, not everything will perform at Tier 1 optimizations. We're going to price our cards like Tier 3.
And our lightweight driver is very good at speaking directly to the GPU hardware in DX12 and Vulkan, making full use of its capabilities. By the way, the water in this insulated bottle is both cold and refreshing.
Let's talk about the three-tier strategy that Intel is planning to use then to beat this chicken and egg into a delicious omelet.
At what we're calling Tier 1, we're going to kill everyone in price to performance. And in these Tier 1 titles that work really well on Arc, we've already revealed some of them.
Tier 1, huh? Well, Igor found that Control, a game that Intel says is on the Tier 1 list, has lost a lot of performance in lower resolutions to the point that the minimum frame rates just seem to be capped at around 80 Hz, even with much higher clocks, just not giving you anything extra. And he's extensively covered the frame variance issues at all frame rates. Why do you think that Intel has been focusing on 90 frames per second competitive gaming? The standard is above 120. Guys, it's because, as Igor has already started to find, and from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, there's almost certainly a fundamental hardware flaw in the scheduler of Alchemist. Can they make things better? Can there be mitigations in drivers that they will improve over time? Yes. But it's never going to be perfect. It's already having problems getting above 90 frames per second consistently at super low resolutions with a weak card. How are they going to get a high-end card to...